Look around you. Every single person on this planet today belongs to one species. One kind of human. Homo sapiens. That feels normal to us. That feels like the only way things could be. But this is actually a strange moment in history. For most of the time humans have existed, we were never alone. There were other kinds of humans walking beside us, hunting beside us, and sometimes even having children with us. So the real question is not why did other humans disappear? The real question is why are we the only ones left standing today? For millions of years, the story of humans was not a straight line. It was more like a tree with many branches. Different kinds of humans lived at the same time, in different parts of the world, and sometimes in the very same forests and caves. Short humans, tall humans, strong humans, small-brained humans, and big-brained humans, all shared the earth together. Then, in the last 30,000 years, something changed. One by one, every other branch died out. Only our branch survived. Scientists still do not fully agree on why this happened. But when we look closely at each lost species, we start to see clues. Think about how unusual this really is. If you looked at almost any other animal group on this planet, you would expect to find several closely related species living side by side. Wolves share their world with foxes and jackals. Lions share the grasslands with leopards and cheetahs. Nature usually spreads its experiments wide, letting many similar creatures survive together in their own space. Humans should have followed the same pattern. And for most of our history, we did. At one point, at least 6 or more different human species were alive on Earth at the same time, each one testing out its own way of surviving, hunting, and thinking. Some stayed in warm forests, some pushed into freezing tundras, some shrank down on small islands, and some grew taller and smarter on open grasslands. This was evolution running many experiments at once, not just one straight path leading to us. That is exactly why the ending feels so strange. Somewhere along the way, this wide spread of human experiments narrowed down to a single result. It is almost like watching a competition with many strong players, only for one winner to remain standing at the very end, without a clear final match ever being recorded. We do not have old newspapers or eyewitness accounts explaining exactly what happened in those final years of each species. All we have are bones, teeth, tools, caves, and fragments of ancient DNA. From these small clues, scientists have to rebuild a story that stretches across hundreds of thousands of years. It is detective work on the grandest possible scale, and every new fossil discovery has the power to completely rewrite what we thought we already understood. Let us begin with the ones most like us, the Neanderthals. They lived in Europe and Asia for hundreds of thousands of years. They were shorter than most modern humans, but they were incredibly strong. Their bodies were built for cold weather and hard labor. And here is the surprising part, their brains were just as big as ours, sometimes even bigger. They made fire, they made tools, they hunted large animals, and they even buried their dead. For a long time, people imagined Neanderthals as dumb cavemen. That picture is simply wrong. They were smart, capable, and tough survivors. Neanderthals and our ancestors lived together in the same regions for more than 200,000 years. They were not strangers to each other. In fact, they had children together. Today, almost everyone whose ancestors came from outside Africa carries a small piece of Neanderthal DNA inside their body. So in a strange way, Neanderthals never fully disappeared. A part of them lives on inside us. But their species as a whole vanished around 40,000 years ago. Nobody knows the exact reason. It could have been disease. It could have been climate change. It could have been that our ancestors were slightly better at finding food or working together in larger groups. Whatever the reason, when Neanderthals disappeared, we lost our closest human relative. Before the Neanderthals, there was an older and even more successful species, Homo erectus. This species walked upright just like us, but their brains were smaller and their skulls were more angled at the back. What makes Homo erectus special is how long they survived. They lived on this planet for almost 2 million years. That is 10 times longer than modern humans have existed so far. They were likely the first humans to control fire and the first to make simple stone tools like hand axes. They spread out of Africa and reached places as far as the island of Java in Southeast Asia. Their story ends around 100,000 years ago, but their impact never really ended, because many scientists believe several later human species, possibly including our own ancestors, came from this same line. Then came Homo heidelbergensis, a species that may be the missing link between older humans and us. Their brains were larger than Homo erectus, getting closer to our modern brain size. This species may have been the first to build actual shelters. In Germany, scientists even found signs of what looked like fences, maybe to keep dangerous animals away or to trap captured prey. Their remains have been found across Europe, Asia, and Africa, showing that this was a widespread and successful species. Some researchers believe Homo heidelbergensis is the ancestor of both the Neanderthals and modern humans. If that is true, this species is not just an extinct cousin, it might be a grandparent of us all. Now here comes one of the strangest discoveries in the history of science, the hobbit, officially called Homo floresiensis. On a small island in Indonesia called Flores, scientists found the skeleton of an adult woman who stood barely 3.5 feet tall. Her brain was roughly the size of a chimpanzee's brain, yet she and her people made stone tools. This tiny species likely became small because of something called island dwarfism, where large animals shrink over generations due to limited food and few predators on small islands. The hobbits were living on Flores as recently as 50,000 years ago, hunting giant rats and small elephant-like animals called stegodons that had also shrunk down to the size of a cow. Their world ended, possibly because of volcanic eruptions, possibly because their food source disappeared, and possibly because modern humans arrived on the island around the same time. Next comes one of the most unusual discoveries in recent memory, a species we only know about because of DNA, the Denisovans. In a cold cave in Siberia, scientists found a tiny finger bone. When they tested its DNA, it did not match a Neanderthal, and it did not match a modern human either. It belonged to something completely new. For years, scientists had almost no bones to study, only DNA evidence found in modern populations of Tibet, Siberia, and parts of Southeast Asia. This DNA even explains why Tibetan people today can survive easily at extremely high altitudes, a gift passed down from ancient Denisovan ancestors. Eventually, a skull known as Dragon Man, found decades earlier, was confirmed to belong to this same mysterious group. Like the Neanderthals, the Denisovans also had children with our ancestors, and their genetic fingerprint still lives inside many people today, especially in Asia and the Pacific Islands. Finally, there is one of the newest and most puzzling discoveries, Homo naledi, found deep inside a cave system in South Africa. This species had a brain barely larger than an ape's brain, yet their hands, feet, and legs looked surprisingly human. What shocked scientists most was where the bones were found, deep inside a nearly impossible-to-reach chamber, with no other animal remains mixed in. This has led some researchers to a bold idea, that Homo naledi may have deliberately placed their dead inside this hidden chamber, almost like a burial ritual. If true, this means a species with a brain the size of an orange may have understood death in a way we thought only larger-brained humans could understand. This idea is still debated fiercely among scientists today, and the full truth may still be hidden inside those unexplored cave walls. So now we return to the real question. Why are we alone now, when for millions of years, multiple human species always existed side by side? The honest answer is that nobody knows for certain. But there are several strong possibilities. Climate change played a role, since ice ages and warming periods repeatedly reshaped where humans could live and what food was available. Disease may have wiped out smaller, more isolated populations who had no defense against new illnesses. Competition for food and land likely pushed some species out of their territories. And it is very possible that modern humans, through slightly better tools, stronger social groups, or more flexible thinking, simply outcompete the others over thousands of years, without ever fighting a single dramatic battle. There is also a quieter explanation that many scientists find compelling. Perhaps our real advantage was not intelligence or strength at all. Perhaps it was our habit of mixing. Wherever modern humans traveled, they met other human species, and instead of staying completely separate, they interbred with them. This mixing may have given our ancestors useful genetic traits, like disease resistance or the ability to survive at high altitudes, borrowed directly from species that were already adapted to those environments for thousands of years. In this way, even though Neanderthals and Denisovans are gone, tiny pieces of them survive scattered across the DNA of billions of people alive today. We did not just replace them, in some sense we absorbed them. This changes how we should think about being alone today. We are not simply the last human species standing because we were destined to win some ancient competition. We are the last ones standing because every other branch, for its own combination of reasons, could not survive the changing world, while our branch found a way through, partly by adapting and partly by blending with the very species we eventually outlived. Being alone now is not really the natural state of humanity. It is the unusual and recent exception in a much longer story of many humans living together. And this raises one final thought. New human species have already been discovered in just the last 20 years, and unexplored regions like remote islands and deep cave systems may still hold more surprises. Perhaps we have not yet found every branch of our family tree. Perhaps somewhere, hidden in soil or rock or a forgotten cave, another piece of our ancient family is still waiting to be uncovered. Until then, we remain alone, the last species of our kind, carrying the DNA of our lost relatives inside every one of us, wondering what other secrets our shared past still has left to reveal.